been working kind of a lot over the past 48 hours to uncover this possible truth that I'm going to share with you that 99% of you are not going to agree with. But pay attention, because it could save you a lot of money if I'm right. And I'm betting that I am right on this. So what I'm showing you here is I'm showing you the big picture. First of all, these lines that go like this, these are long-term trend lines that have excellent supports and resistances in them. And when you have something like that, you could really look at a big picture, okay? So the first thing I want to talk to you about is this red line on top. This red line on top, I got that from CoinGlass. There's a guy on CoinGlass. He used to do YouTube videos, and he would share many, many indicators that he has on CoinGlass. And a lot of people, I guess, sign up and pay a lot of money to get access to all these wonderful indicators. But what I'm going to tell you is, for my personal uses, that all these fancy schmancy indicators, I discounted about 95 to or more % of all of them, because I found that my moving average channels that I have like this actually work better. You have the long channel here, you have the shorter channel here. And these channels have been able to do things for me that 90% of these fancy charts that they have at CoinGlass and other places can do. And I've just thrown out so many indicators to stick with this type of stuff here. All right, but there's a few indicators I'm fascinated by, and one of them is this red line. This is basically, they took realized price and they turned it into a cap, and it basically caps the price of where it's like finding, it's like a top finder, right? And once we get very near the top, oh, my brain is half dead. Once we get very near the top, that's when this thing kind of is laying its hat on top of where that top could be, right? Right about here. It's laying its hat on top of that. Well, this is kind of an afterthought. After I went through using this incredible channels that I have, they're my own unique channels. These incredible channels that I have. Let me show you how powerful these channels are in my big chart thing here. Look at how beautifully, back in the day, whatever year this was, back in 2018, we had basically Bitcoin bouncing down, 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 down. It fell in, squeezed in this red line right here. Look at how it's squeezed on that. Tell me that every one of these lines don't have beautiful resistances and things that happen in those lines. But this red one's darkened because it's one of the powerful lines that tells us stuff. But look at how with these indicators, I could see why this is bouncing off of here. Kept going to the middle of this line, and then when it went through the red line and bounced off the bottom of the red line, that was when it had the big crash. And so these are what I call ultra channels. They're some of my top channels I use to figure stuff out. Okay, now, and this realized cap that they kind of figured out over there at CoinGlass is pretty fascinating to me. I like it. And so here it goes going along here. And when you see it laying its little blanket on here, yeah, it does start to rise, but it's right there. It's kind of laying on top of it before it rises. And actually, back here, this right here should have been the top. I told you guys this in past videos. This should have been the top if it was not for global net liquidity. So just once again, I'm going to share with you this global net liquidity. That's the orange thing here. Really quick, because I've told you before about global net liquidity. Global net liquidity, look how price drops down close to global net liquidity. Global net liquidity is the amount of money people in the world globally have to put into Bitcoin. They have to put into investments. They have to spend, right? And that's why price often comes down to global net liquidity, right? Even if it rises up out of global net liquidity, it eventually comes back. Actually, the pandemic really brought it back. That was weird. It's like global net liquidity freaking knew a pandemic was coming. I don't know. Anyway, and so the reason I said this was supposed to be the regular top, the reason why we went into this ultra high situation is because of printing money because of pandemic, right here, pandemic. So we printed the crazy, crazy amounts of money, and that gave us extra rises pushing up that top. And that's why we got so crazy, so high. And as I've told you in past videos, look what happened after. We went down, we went down, we went down, down, down. We are at an extreme low in global net liquidity while rising up in price. Anytime in the past, the price usually ends up going down with liquidity. Over here, price rose. People are excited. Price went down to match global net liquidity. Here, price rose up to catch up with liquidity. And then it went down, right? Liquidity's up, it went down. Well, that's how these things work. We got manipulation in the market. This extra high, I was yelling at people back then, this extra high is dangerous. I sold out about here. I said, I thought it could go high and crash quickly, but no, they wanted to get you comfortable. And I told you a big drop was coming, and it did come. That's all manipulation. And then because global net liquidity was high, it pulled it back up one more time to an extra high, right? Then things went down, price went down with it, right? Okay, so this is what I've been saying with you guys, is that this global net liquidity is so low now that it wouldn't be surprising if this was a top. It wouldn't be surprising. But then I drank the Kool-Aid. I started thinking, you know what? This has been getting away from my global net liquidity so long. And that's how manipulation works, guys. That's how it works. They keep you being, they get you confused for so long that when you finally give up, when you finally drink the Kool-Aid, that this setup right here is now a setup for the next phase up. And then we say the global net liquidity, I was wrong, it didn't work out. This is great ways of using manipulation. Let things go on long enough that you think your theories are incorrect. Okay, but what I did just recently, which made me, I feel like, open my eyes to the reality, is what I did recently is I pulled up this big long charts so we can get a really long look at things, right? And then I went and compared every moment, like the moment we have here, the moment we're currently at. I compared every moment to the distance from this powerful indicator here, right? From the distance from that, and taking a look at this topping formation right here, how close we are to touching this net realized cap that was created by CoinGlass and other people, not necessarily created by CoinGlass, right? And so when I made these comparisons, guys, I spent the last 48 hours tirelessly studying this, tirelessly comparing. Every time we had a move that looked like that, there's a move that looked like that, there's a move that looked like that, there's a move that looked like that. But none of them made sense. None of them matched, and none of them were close to this ceiling here, this interesting ceiling, right? And so now you know about that big picture. So the next thing I did was, let's see where we're at here. Yeah, next thing I did is I created this here to give us a look at What are we always trying to figure out, guys? What are we always trying to figure out on my channel when I share stuff with you? We're always trying to figure out what is the next absolute genius way that the manipulators are going to steal our money. That's what I always want to figure out. And if I'm right about this, then this is the most facetious, this is the most, oh man, it just rips you apart. This manipulation, let me tell you what I think the manipulation is this time, now that I looked at the bigger picture. Take a look at what we always expect when we get to a top of a market. What have we been trained to always expect? And remember, what we are trained on, what we are expecting, how manipulation works is they change it. I call it the rule of threes. The third time or fourth, the third time they change things to where it's not going to happen the way you believe it's supposed to always happen. What is the way it always happened in the past? The way it always happened is we got, back up, go forward. What always happened in the past and what I've always been used to is we get an irrational exuberance, blow off top that stabs the sky. Okay? Let's take a closer look. Always been this way. It stabs the sky. And this stabbing the sky and stabbing through this red barrier here, this is how I've always known how to exit my cryptos at a great profit. I learned the trick. This is how I did it. It stabbed through this guy, and that prepared me to sell. It stabbed through, prepared me to sell. Stabbed through, stabbed up very close. It's the stabbing action. It's created by irrational exuberance. Everybody jumps in the market near tops, and that's what creates this type of stabbing effect. And that's how tops are always created. And that's why we need to think that what are the manipulators going to do next? Maybe they're not going to stab the sky quite as powerfully as we expected. Okay. Now back here, stab through the red. There is the red. And by the way, look, the red is matching our current red. The red is matching our current red. But back then they stabbed through it, and they give us a great indication that this was the end of the bull market, okay? Now, actually, this one did do a stab right here. This one did do a stab, but it did not reach the red right here. So what I think would be a genius maneuver to manipulate, and also, by the way, one of the reasons why this isn't stabbing through that is because another part of the current manipulation is instead of having it go high, 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 stabbing through everything and giving us great indications that we're at a high, and then going low and going to a double top, well, the problem is if you let the first half be the highest, then it always hits your targets. It hits your targets that let you know to sell, right? But the genius of this possible manipulation that we're in now is instead, they let it stop short of stabbing into our thing. And then they created this long, strange, crazy thing here. Look at this long, strange, crazy thing here. This never happens in Bitcoin. This long thing here. But now take a look at it in this context. The only time it happens is when it's a double top forming. In Bitcoin, it's one of the only things that happens to create a double top. Look, here in the past, back in 2021, was it? We hit the thing, we went down, we hit the thing. This time it's more subtle, it's more calm. But we hit the thing, we went down across, we hit the thing. Looks like a double topping formation, the type of formation that's not going to hit anyone's signals that a top is in, okay? Let's go back here. We have, yeah, well, that's the same thing, so I'm not going to tell you about that. Okay, also, Also, we can ask ourselves, well, let's just look at the big picture and compare. Here we had this bottom, right? This bottom's a little bit to the left of this bottom, right? So we could say to ourselves, well, then this one has more time to go. But guess what? This last phase had an interruption. Do you know what the interruption was? The interruption was a pandemic. It was a pandemic. Here's what was meant to occur. What was meant to occur was we went up, 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 and then we were going to go here. And this started the launching of the next phase up. This started it. But right around this time here, it was named on TV a pandemic. As soon as the word pandemic became known, people started selling like crazy. Everything dumped. And so this actually would have been about here and then lifted up, which would have moved this bottom over to about here. So if I was to take my scissors and cut out this rise, cut out the pandemic, which was about from here to about here, we would have been able to cut that out, bring this over. Then where would this bottoming have been? Well, I went ahead and did it for you, and the bottoming of that cycle would have been about here. And guess what? That bottoming matches up pretty nicely with where this bottoming occurred. Now, you can say to me, but CJ, this bottoming occurred here, but the real bottoming in the modern time occurred here. But my friend, if you study charts as much as I do, if you've been around as much as I do, you will understand they always shift. They always shift things, right? If last time you had a high and a high, guess what? Next time you get a low and a high. Guess what? The time after that, you get maybe a high and a low. They always shift the patterns a little bit, so you can't know exactly what's happening. So we don't want to look at this as an ultra bottom and this as an ultra bottom. We want to look at this as the bottoming area. This entirety was the bottoming area. Guess what? This, when we cut out the pandemic thing, it fits perfectly with this fitting into our bottoming area. Does that make sense? And if that's the case, then now we put this here, right? And now we say, even in timing, we have reached the end of this bull market. So if we look at timing, we've reached the end of this bull market. And this pattern, this genius blue little tube, this channel, this super ultra channel I compared it to every other time. Nothing made sense. The only thing that made sense was that these double tops always create a transition like this. It hardly ever happens in the middle of the whole situation. Yes, we do get a rise and a side channel, and then a rise. So, hey, if you want your best bet, your best bet is that we're here. But with this kind of the characteristic of this topping formation almost never ever leads to blasting off from there. I want you to pay attention to this blue line. Look at this blue line. Anytime we go above or close to this blue line, it's a powerful indicator. Anytime we go above that, we almost always go sideways for a while, right? Unless we're in the middle of kind of a blast up cycle, right? And so we could say that this is kind of the blast up cycle. Oh, and by the way, even in this case, we came back down to here, which today would be 85,000, right? But the reason why we're saying that this is not this is because of this beautiful genius realized price top, which really helps us get a really great perspective of where we are in the whole game. So timing wise, should be near a top. Motion wise, this should be near a top. The way this folds over and matches so beautifully. Look at this, how this folds over and matches so beautifully. Look at how it matches my my blue channel here. The blue channel, look at how beautifully it matches my blue channel. And when we connect it, coming out of the blue channel, and we see that this move here is matching beautifully what happens here, then once again, it also tells us that we could be already, this is the top of Bitcoin. Bitcoin will now move into a bear market, okay? And so we have the topping thing telling us that this very well could be the case. We have the timing telling us that this very well could be the case. The timing of a bottom to top, the timing. And finally, what we have is just seeing how genius. This would be the most genius manipulation, because everybody thinks that we go up from here. And what was the final thing? Do not forget the final part of this story. The final part of the story was global net liquidity. That's the final part of the story that we don't want to ignore. Global net liquidity is an ultra low. So for global net liquidity to have pulled our top down to the red, right? We're this powerful red thing. We touch the red. Now we're above the red. Oftentimes we get above things to make people think we're blasting off. That's another manipulation technique. We get above powerful lines before we crash. That oftentimes is what happens. And so saying that getting to the red here and that being our final top, hey, with global net liquidity, this crazy, crazy low, is it that hard to believe? Right? We have had low tops before, in the middle, before we got to big blow off tops. Look at this. Look at this one. This one right here. We had this, we had a bear market. A bear market went into a 1 phase, 2 phase, 3 top. That's exactly how a top's supposed to be formed, in 3 phases like this. And that was a low top that hit to the bottom of my powerful yellow up here, right? So with, and also let's pay attention to something else I've always seen happen. It's called the pendulum effect. The pendulum effect is when we have an ultra top, oftentimes it creates a lasting effect that keeps things lower. And so that could be why this is going to be a lower top at this point. So this will have been one of the lowest tops. It could be thought of as similar to this top here, right? But the global net liquidity, that is the key. That is the key. So we take global net liquidity pulling down on the chart. We take the hat forming on top of this right here. Then we take the next thing that we just showed you. The timing is matching, right? The hat's on top. Back when the hat did this before was when we topped. Okay, so this is now. The next question is, what will happen to altcoins if I am correct? What will happen to altcoins if I am correct? Let's take a look at that next. Okay, now first of all, let's take a close look. If I'm right, then we're going to take a very close look at where we are today in the comparative analysis. In the comparative analysis, absolutely today here in where I'm at, I'm on the other side of the world from you guys in the United States, but from where I'm at, today happens to be the 2nd. It's January 2nd. Where you're at, it might be January 1st. But when we look at rise, we're at a moment where a hard drop is going to come. Guess what? This rise we're in at this very moment before a hard drop comes. And guess what? If that hard drop comes and you see happen to your cryptos something scary, then I want you to really be worried about when the next one comes. Okay? So if you don't believe me now, and if the hard drop comes next, which may bring which may bring our Bitcoin down around 85. It could bring our Bitcoin around 85 when that happens. If that happens, then if we get one more rising formation, then maybe that'll give you a chance to make your escape out of your cryptos if you believe what I'm saying, that because if this is a topping formation, we don't have a normal drop. Normal drops often come to the top of my blue line. Look over here, bouncy wouncy, right? Top of my blue line is a bullish place for things to bounce. But if we're moving into a new bear market, then we cross through my blue zone. We cross through that. And this drop right here can be very, very painful. But this drop also, if we figure out how to buy cryptos again, if we catch at the wick, at the bottom of the wick, we may have another opportunity, maybe on some cryptos, to make a little more money. Now let's go see what that could look like. Okay, so that's not it. Where's my goodies? Okay, so here is something else I did for you. Probably should have made 2 videos, but I'm going to give it all to you right here and now. So today, I actually sold some of my cryptos today, because today my XRP and my CRV, because I bought them at really good prices, because I already, I figured out how to get that done, right? Well, they rose up today. My CRV, my XRP, because I so strongly believe that my scenario may play out. Well, these are representative of, let's see, actually, no, this is XRP. Yeah, this is XRP. So you're seeing where I sold it. So actually, I had bought XRP here. I sold a lot of my XRP here because I strongly believe in what I'm telling you. But this is not financial advice. Don't listen to me. Figure this stuff out for yourself. This is just my opinion. And then CRV actually rose up, and it actually rose up to here when I sold a bunch of that. So I'm out of just about all of my cryptos at this point, because I think that my scenario is going to play out. Now, if my scenario plays out, what would happen next? Well, here's what I did. I went back to 2022 and I matched that exact moment that I'm comparing us to. And so this red line coming down here shows exactly what happened after today, when we could start falling, have our next scary moment of a fall. That scary moment of a fall, maybe that'll take Bitcoin down to touching below 85. Could be deeper, who knows? But the real scary one's even coming up ahead. This is a daily chart. So this is 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day. That's a daily chart. So let's take a look at what happened in the past to these particular cryptos. Anywho, right? I said anywho. Yes, I did. I'm a nerd. I love it. Okay. So when we look in the past, I think that green one in the past, look at that. That green one in the past was a healthy one. It went up sideways. That is a sign of strength. It went up kind of like this, still has a bullish look to it. And then it went up even higher to today, basically, which was its highest day. But then when the next day drop occurred, then it went down, it went down, it went down. In this case, it made it basically matched its previous low. So maybe that's where we can buy in for another opportunity. That's the one where I said, if we can find a way to catch a bottom wick, the bottom of the wick, if we could find a way to catch that, then we could get in maybe for our last chance to make money. Maybe. It's not going to happen in all of the cryptos, but in the ones that are wanting to rise. Good indications of cryptos that are wanting to rise when they go up and they stay sideways. That is a powerful thing. And then this one went up strong and it went downward, but yet it actually stayed pretty strong until Bitcoin did a little drop there and threw it down a little stronger. So overall, it was a strong coin, and then it did actually blast up more powerfully than today. This is something that happened in the past. So here I am getting out today, even though this is the past, I'm getting out today, looking forward to another drop. But if you guys don't believe what I'm talking about, then stay in and maybe you're just going to make all kinds of money. Maybe it's going to go crazy. But you know what? It's never easy to make money. And the manipulators are freaking geniuses, my friend, at stealing the money out of your pocket. And it took me a long time to uncover what I think may be their biggest manipulation yet, which is what's going on. So in all of my coins here, from today, they go down. Like in this case, this gray one here was going up, 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 and away, and then it went down a bit, and then when this hit, then it went down and broke. See, this is a trend here. This is a trend. So it broke the trend on this scary one that already happened with Bitcoin. That already scared some people, and that caused this to break its trend. But if what I'm saying is correct, then it can break the trend all the way down to here. So on the wick down, do we want to buy the wick down on everything? Well, no. If we can catch the bottom of the wick, that would be great. But some of these coins back then were not ready. Even though they were great coins, they were not ready to blast off. That's another thing I try to teach people. Don't just buy a coin because it's great. Buy a coin because it's great and because the chart shows that it's ready for its blast off. That's why I was in Curve. That's why I was in XRP, because those charts looked ready to blast off. Okay. So let's see. So like this one here, this was going sideways. Actually, that back then, what was that? That was the red one. So that was XRP, right? Great example of a coin that has great future potential, but it was sucking back then. And so if we buy XRP back then, or we buy another crappy coin that's not ready to blast off, we may barely get a profit, and we may not even get a profit. And here, this one was probably Aave, so the crappy coins, they're not even worth it. But coins that are picked the way I pick them, like today's CRV, today's XRP, those coins are the ones that if we get the bottom of the wick, XRP, especially in CRV, in my opinion, if we get the bottom of that wick that's going to come, we may have a chance to make money on the next rise. And so that is what would happen according to history. Isn't that a beautiful thing to look at? No, it's not. It's a scary thing to look at. But guys, I hear people all the time. And by the way, many times I've called tops in Bitcoin. I've called stuff, and every time the smartest people I know in crypto, every time they argue with me, they tell me that I'm a negative Nelly, and why am I such a bear when everything's great? My friends, when you get the absolute best of news is when things tend to top. Today you're hearing about Trump is going to invest in the United States in Bitcoin. You're talking about what is that one company that's buying tons and tons of Bitcoin? You think MicroStrategy? You think MicroStrategy is some kind of genius, my friend? I'm telling you that billionaires buy in near tops and they get destroyed. It happens all the freaking time.
Likey.
Comment. Subscribe now.